What the fuck?
Hello and welcome to Taste Like Tea, a podcast in which I talk about myself. My name is Theo. Don't call me Ted. I am technically an episode behind right now. Only technically. I've been consistently keeping up with being over a week ahead of time, but I kind of only recorded one actual episode last week. So I have one less episode scheduled ahead of time. This doesn't mean anything to you. You have no reason to care about that shit. But essentially, I'm kind of not scrambling for ideas, but I'm definitely not. I don't know where I'm getting with that, to be honest. I'm just saying some words, I guess. I'm describing things that happened to me. I told someone at D&D that I had a podcast the other day. Not that I was advertising it or anything, but just kind of I brought it up because I have this time after work and before I go home. And I'm I write, I read, and I record a podcast, and that's my existence outside of work before I get home. Right now I'm driving. I am going to pick up some baby aspirin. Because I was told to grab baby aspirin. And I'm going to pick up my episode. I'm probably going to get some chicken nuggets while I'm there. Because for some reason I'm really into Weis chicken nuggets. I don't really know how to explain that. Weis has been kind of... I've been killing it at Weis recently. It's I think I've been there more than I've been at... well, I shouldn't say home, because I definitely have been home longer than at Weis, but I've been there a lot. It's actually a really... not to be plugging a corporate grocery store, but Weis is kind of a good store. My coworker says that they have the best bakery, but are generally overpriced, and I haven't found any reason to agree with the overpriced part, but they absolutely have the best bakery out of all the local grocery stores and shit. I always describe their donuts. They have... You can get a dozen glazed donuts for $6 from them, and genuinely, I describe them the way I think of donuts from Tony Hawk's Underground, and I think that's a really, really hyper specific feeling. It's the same way I feel about chocolate chip cookies. The best chocolate chip cookie I've ever seen is in that episode of Billy and Mandy where he meets Pinhead. And they share a thing of milk and cookies, and my mom made them. Those look like the best looking cookies in existence. The donuts in Tony Hawk's Underground, the ones that the cop in Miami makes you pick up in one long combo. Those donuts are what I associate, or Weis donuts are what I associate with the real life equivalent to the donuts that the police force you to get in Tony Hawk's Underground. Who was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about that with someone at work. Doesn't really matter. It did get me on a Tony Hawk kick talking about that, though. It's weird. It's really weird how... Cause a few weeks ago, months ago, I don't remember how long it's been. Time barely exists. But, I've been not playing video games a lot recently, and that is very unlike me. I am very much someone who would prioritize video games over basically anything else, but ever since I started watching movies every day, I've found less time to play video games. And at one point, it was me making sure I always played video games at least on Fridays, because that's when I had a friend I could play with, and, it became kind of a schedule thing, and I like to be, sort of on a schedule. I don't like to be bound to a schedule, but I like consistency. It's really contradictory in a sense. But that conversation sparked me to really want to play some Tony Hawk again. And rather than giving Activision more money, I booted up the Rethawed mod for Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. One of, if not the best Tony Hawk video game ever made. I wouldn't even say arguably, I think it genuinely is. And there's very little wiggle room in that thought process. Alright, well, I just got to Weiss. I'm going to run inside and grab the things I need, and I'm going to come back and, continue talking. I'm talking about movies today, if you were wondering. I'm going to be talking about 2 movies today. It's not a double feature, but it's two films that are like one. What do you call? It's a sequel. It's a film, and then the sequel to that film. I hate that Crocs are a normalized thing. I just watched an 8-year-old splash in a puddle with Crocs that aren't even being worn well. He has his fucking heels pressed into the back like he's slipping on non-slip-on shoes. But Crocs are already non-slip, or they're already slip-on. Why are you crushing the back? Plus they're just fucking gross. I'm a huge advocate for being entirely against open-toed shoes or any sandal whatsoever. If it's not a boot or a sneaker, it's probably not something I support when it comes to footwear. So I'll be right back. Chicken nuggets or whatever. Alright, I'm partially back. I just got out of the Weiss, and before I head back onto work property, I'm gonna get myself a little hit of the doink, if you will. I've cut back very, very, very much on my cannabis consumption, but I still have not been able to go an entire day without it. Non-habit forming, but for habit-loving people like me, it's hard to escape. So, I'm going the easier way and just smoking smaller amounts at a time. Plus I got a really fancy one-hitter. It's all acrylic. It's probably going to get really gross really quick. But until then, it's a really nice one-hitter. So today I'm going to be talking about some films. Damn, I didn't even do my thing. But let me tell you what the films are, because I don't like how I hold off on it. It's not like it's a big fucking secret. You know? It's just... they're just movies. It's not like it's a big fucking secret. So, I'm putting you back in my sun visor, whatever the fuck it's called. I'm going to be talking about the Sketch Artist films. I'm pretty sure they're TV movies from, well, I know what years they're from, but I'm pretty sure they're TV movies. I don't think I ever entirely confirmed that or not, but that's exactly what's happening. There's that kid again, crushing the back of his Crocs. Also, the color options for Crocs, come on, man. Like, I get that they're supposed to be cheap foam, like garbage shoes that you're meant to destroy and treat like shit or whatever, but I don't think I've ever seen one that looked good. Even the black ones, just, I don't know, maybe it's my association with bare feet being put in them. I won't get into that. That's a whole other thing. Well, I haven't been not entirely sober on this podcast in a while, since I've been not doing dabs or getting stoned like at work. I regret saying that a little bit, but oh well. Time exists. It doesn't happen anymore. It's like those rappers. They admit that they were doing illegal shit in the past, but they're not doing it now, so it's not as bad, right? Right? I'm talking about the sketch artist films, though. Anythingbutted@gmail.com. This is a real mess of an episode, honestly, but that's cool. I think I'm really feeling the mess this week. I think I'm really into it right now. I've been thinking about writing a gore porn that I really, really want to fucking do, but every time, like, I don't know who to talk to about it. Like, who do you pitch gore porn to without it being like, no, just hear me out? Like, it needs to be someone that doesn't have to be heard out. It needs to be somebody who's already on board with the idea from the get-go. And I don't know any of those people. I'm not going to get into it. It's not me being the one in the porno. I want to make one. I want to film something. Anyway, anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to reach out. You can tell me to stop it. You can tell me not to do that. You can be the one to collaborate with me on this gore porn. Because, at this point, I'm going to end up writing a movie about a guy who wants to make gore porn. It's going to be like a reverse Serbian film kind of thing. Just to, assumptions. But, yeah, I'm going to be talking about the sketch artist films today. They're good. I'm just going to start out, like, I love how I try and be ambiguous. I'm not telling you about the film, but I'll tell you right up front, it's good. They're not, like, top of the line. They're TV movies, but I've come to realize that I genuinely love TV movies. It's at the end of the month, my top 20 is being updated. And, I'm really excited for it. I have it mostly put together, and I'm pretty sure I'm done writing things for it, because although people probably don't spend the time to read it, I do, for every list I have a small essay explaining what it is or why it is. And, I just finished writing my description for my new top 20. And I'll be posting it at the end of June, and I'm excited for it. Plus, August is going to be an exciting month too, because that's my birthday. Fun. I already told you about the email. I'm talking about the sketch artist films. I'm telling you up front that they're good, because they are. This is a real bad thing to not know at the moment. Because I wanted to say starring, and I can't remember what the guy's name is. Jeff? His last name is Fahey. Fahey. I can tell you that confidently. I can't tell you his first name until I park. I'm really hoping for the best. With a different thing. That had nothing to do with the... So, it's starring a Fahey fella, and he plays a sketch artist. Big surprise there, I guess. But the sketch artist, he works with the police. They bring in victims, or it's not a victim. It's people who see the act. What the fuck are they called? Witnesses. You see a witness, and they're brought in, and they describe the person to him, and he identifies them by drawing them the details and sketch artists. There's that famous meme of the newscaster who looks exactly like the sketch, which I never actually knew if that was one, I don't know if that was real or not. I feel like it might have just been a picture going around on the internet, but also I wonder if that's actually him or not. Because, you can't put it past a newscaster to not be willing to mug a guy. I got some spicy tendies. It's weird. Every time I get the spicy ones, I think they give you one less tender. I'm pretty sure. I have had my earbud in this entire time, and I'm going to take it out. Wow, this is riveting podcasting, isn't it? But I think it matches the ADHD brain that I advertise that I have. Sketch artist. Stars, oh yeah, let me check. I'm pretty sure it's Jeff or George Fahey. Oh, hell yeah. My order has been delivered. It's fucking raining. I really hope that they nailed that that packaging, or because the people at the UPS do not put my shit out of the rain. They'll leave it right at the edge of the fucking porch and be like, "Oh, it's in the rain." They'll get it. I won't be home for another 2 hours, bro. Alright, I'm looking at my review. I'm not supposed to be looking at my review. I'm supposed to be looking at Jeff Fahey. I think I got that on the first try, right? Or did I say Jack? Either way. Jeff Fahey plays the sketch artist. Oh, the main character's name is Jack, so that's probably where I got that. If I said Jack already, it's so yeah. I described to you what the fuck a sketch artist is. I told you that the movie stars and his name is sketch artist. So obviously, it's going to be about an art being sketched, right? Beginning of the film happens. How do I talk about movies? See, I listen to multiple movie podcasts, and then it skews my idea of what I should be doing. Is it destructive to play in the same space that I interact with? It shouldn't be, because passion. Anyway, the sketch artist exists, and Drew Barrymore is in the first one. That's kind of what set me off. See, I didn't find this film because of Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore has a massive filmography, though. 111 films, and I've seen 17% of that. I didn't know she was in Freddy Got Fingered. I heard that film is wacky. 2001, that's like a 9/11 movie, huh? But I didn't find this film because I was looking through Drew Barrymore's filmography. I found this film because of the sequel, which I have definitely mentioned in the past. I don't know how often, but Jack Sholder is a director that I am, and I'll get into it probably a little bit later too, assuming I can do it all in one. Clearly, I'm taking my time with this, but Jack Sholder has been recently skyrocketed to like one of my favorite directors ever. I don't think he lives up to like an Abel Ferrara, where like he was a one-hit wonder. I was like gunning for him kind of thing, but Jack Sholder is an amazing director, and I resonate a lot with him. And I shouldn't say resonate, because resonate kind of says I directly relate, which I do to an extent, but just like how he makes a movie. I've never seen it behind the scenes with him, but like when I watch his movies, I gravitate towards this guy. I'm really into him right now. I haven't read anything on him, but I'm watching as many movies as I can. He's the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and he's also the director of Sketch Artist 2, Hands at Sea, a film that I'm going to talk about soon. But I need to get through the first one first, because they're very different. You can't really talk about the second one without talking about the first one. So that's what I'm going to do. But so I didn't watch Sketch Artist 1 because Drew Barrymore. Well, I watched Jesus Christ. I watched Sketch Artist 1 because Drew Barrymore was in it. But I got to Sketch Artist 1 because Jack Sholder directed Sketch Artist 2. And I refused, as I have in the past, as with Jack Sholder films specifically, like just a couple weeks ago, I haven't talked about it, but I did, at least I don't think I talked about it. The Wishmaster movies. I watched them chronologically just so I can make my way to the Jack Shoulder entry. Same with Mick Garris. Anyway, sorry. Not relevant. Sketch artist. What am I doing? I watched the first one because I found the second one directed by the man. Period. We figured that out. Moving on. So the film is about this sketch artist, as established, meets Drew Barrymore, who is 17 at the time in 1992. This film came out in 1992. And she's the witness to a murder. And she gives him her description of the perpetrator. She's confident in describing the face. So she does, and she's confident in the sketch that Jack has made. And it turns out that it's the man's wife. At least that's what it looks like. Jack sees the picture that he drew and realizes that it's his wife. Very, like, on the nose, too. Like, he very much... The sketch is just him drawing her. It's really... So, he's like, this is my fucking wife that supposedly committed this murder. And he decides to not submit that sketch, submit a different one, and then investigate on his own. With Drew Barrymore involved for like half the film. She's literally just a witness and a victim. She's sort of a love interest for a bit, but then it shifts, and she eventually gets strangled, I believe. I don't really remember how she died. I just remember seeing her dead body on the floor. I guess that could count as a child death, but I think I exclude explicitly 17-year-olds because of the light technicality or whatever that, in some places they probably would be considered adults. I try to stick to 16 and under when considering child death in a film for the list, of course, for the list. So he starts investigating his wife, and essentially, his wife did do it. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be confident that she did it the entire time. I don't think there's any actual question, but the man is in complete denial. He refuses to believe that his hardworking, well-providing wife is out murdering people when she says she's doing business work. She's one of those kinds of business people who is out of the house for multiple days of the week. Like, they're like, hey, I'm going on a business trip for the next couple days kind of thing. I won't explore it because I never really considered it, but I heard it talked about. I had a conversation about it in a different film, and it, at this moment, just sparked the realization that the gender roles are kind of swapped from the quote-unquote traditional, if you want to be really on it. I mean, Jack is still doing work. It's not like he's a house husband. But, generally it's the man, if in a movie, I hate that I'm saying that. That's so stupid. This is me reflecting on other people's perceptions of films and realizing that, oh, I never considered such a perspective. So for some reason, I think right now, because I have that knowledge of somebody watching films and realizing that that there is a general gender role thing, that quote unquote swapping it and making the woman the provider of the house says something. It's not just like a thing. Now that I'm externalizing it with this film, it's kind of not as on the nose as whatever the hell we were watching last time that did it. What the hell was that? But Jesus Christ. This is a horrible episode. I'm so sorry. I'm not actually, because the fact that I'm posting it and not editing it down, it just shows that I'm willing to just sit here in silence and post that as a thing, because that's technically a thing I do. And as regularly stated, not on this episode actually, so I guess it's good that I'm bringing it up, that I am an individual and a person that exists, and this podcast is about me. I just happen to talk a lot about the things that I do, and those things I do is generally consuming media. Whenever I say that now out loud, consuming media, I do second guess that word, because I think some of the internet's mindset has poisoned me with the knowledge that people look down on the idea of media as consumption. And it's undeniable that the fact that although I enjoy doing it and I'm willing to do it and I like to do it and there's very little resistance in figuring out how to do it, I technically am gamifying movies and turning it into a chore rather than like an obligation instead of an experience. And I don't agree with that. But I think to anybody who considers those terms as is, I fall into that category. But I am also historically just a person who gamifies everything. I can't exist without gamifying something. Read Sid Meier's memoir, and that will kind of give you a little bit of an insight on like the idea of just like gamifying things as motivation rather than creating a chore for yourself. I'm talking about sketch artists, though. Don't know where I was going with that. Don't know where it came from. That's cool. I'm saying words in a specific order, and it is a thing. So, sketch artist. He draws his wife, refuses to admit that his wife could be a murderer, investigates the murders, eventually finds out she is the murderer. The film here, it doesn't sound exciting when I put it that way, but that's because it's all about internal self-doubt and this man just refusing to accept the truth. So, Jeff Fahey, this film alone sparked a bit of inspiration that I want to watch more Jeff Fahey films, and he is a working actor. He is a guy who is, I think, mostly on TV. He was in Psycho 3, which is what I picked up on first, but he's in like a Robert Rodriguez movies. He's in 160 films. He's in more things than Drew Barrymore, and I've never heard his name ever in my life. And he's good. He's a really good actor, and the film is carried by him, and he does not struggle to keep it going. Because, like I said, the film, I just described basically everything that happens in the film, but in between all that is this man just going insane. This dude just like, I mean, it's literally just being in denial. No way. It's fucking raining, guys, you fuckers. No, we're chilling. We're surviving here. Never mind. Sorry. Jeff Fahey does a really fantastic job, though. I think I've realized that TV films sort of do long takes out of necessity, but I think just like doing long takes out of necessity, they make the most out of the long takes. Why do I think they do it out of necessity? Because I assume that TV's budget for films is way lower, and I'm assuming that the cost of film reels can make an impact on that cost. So, because I can't afford a fucking 35 millimeter film reel that runs like over an hour, probably. I haven't actually checked, to be honest, but I'm assuming film's pretty expensive. Actually, let me do it, because that's a really strong assumption. 35. I don't even know how to fucking Google that. Film reel. I'm pretty sure how many reels is an average 90-minute film? Let me just tell you 90 minutes. How many reels of 35 millimeter film is a 90-minute feature? Reels are made up of about 20 minutes each. Alright, so 35 millimeter film reel. Shopping. I just realized that the reel itself is separate from the film, and I am dumb. So I'm just gonna, it's $50 just for the reel itself, though. So let's just, anyway. Sketch artists is what I'm talking about. So I think the long takes that are in the film are at least partially out of necessity, as I just mentioned, the cost. And I think because of that, they have to do what they can with the long takes. And I think that there was a lot done with the long takes in this film. And I think a lot of it has to do with Jeff Fahey, and admittedly, I shouldn't say admittedly, like I'm disappointed that I have to talk about it, but the cinematographer is Wally Pfizer, which I don't know by name, but clicking on his credits, he's basically like Christopher Nolan's cinematographer. So, and Stuart Little as well. So, like, there's a lot of artistry going into the actual, like, filmmaking part of it, too. It's a really basic story. It's really early 90s TV movie, which, like I mentioned, I really like. And, wish I knew why. It seems realer to me than other drama. It's really weird to explain. Maybe I'll get into it. Maybe I've talked about it already with Stephen King's It, but whatever the case, Sketch Artist was a great film. It's all about how it's shot and how it's performed. There's barely any violence. There's some sex in it. You get some nipples. Everyone loves a nipple. There's a lot of cigarette smoking. This came out the year that season 2 of Twin Peaks came out. And the reason I mention that is because the next film is going to be kind of not an exact reaction to Twin Peaks, but definitely some inspiration is brought into it for sure. Drew Barrymore, I normally say she's so like poetically spoken and like really, like normally I have a very specific description of how I feel about Drew Barrymore in films. Like even in Firestarter, she's just really well spoken and articulate. And not that she isn't articulate or like competent in speaking in this film, but she doesn't have the same flair that I generally would associate with Drew Barrymore. You know, like the first thing I ever fully associated her with is Donnie Darko telling me that cellar door is the most beautiful set of words in the English language. So like I've always kind of associated her with being, I think I've used the words poetically spoken many times in the past, and I think that's really the best way to put her. And she just isn't that in this film. She smokes cigarettes. She does kind of a similar like eye game that she does in other films. Like she stares at people in a very specific kind of way, but it's not exactly the same. Like there's something about her isms, if you will, that just aren't there in this film. And it doesn't take away from the film, because I really like this one. But she is, as mentioned, the reason I really wanted to watch this, but also thankfully not the best thing in the film, because there are way more things in this film that I like a lot more. So yeah, I feel like I could keep running around in circles at this point with this film, but I think it's fair to say that that's kind of it. It's good. It's well acted. It's well made. It's a little bland when it comes to plot beats, but Jack Fahey and Wally Pfizer make up for it. Genuinely, like those two exact people are kind of headlining this film in a really great way. And I'm not even mentioning like the actual wife, who I don't really recognize directly. But the first thing I picked up on is that she's Chani from David Lynch's Dune, which there goes another David Lynch tie-in. Not that the other one is more forced than anything, but a lot of these people are in Bone Tomahawk too. That's interesting. So yeah, that's Sketch Artist 1. Great film. And moving on to Sketch Artist 2. I need to take a bite of this chicken finger. You heard me smoke. I bought chicken fingers, and I didn't even finish eating one, so I'm just going to take some. Oh, that was so good. Got some Pringles, too. So, yeah, that's Sketch Artist 1. Sketch Artist 2 is mostly why I'm here. As I mentioned, I'm trying to watch through as many Jack Shoulder films as possible. Did I mention that out loud yet? It's Pride Month. Jack Shoulder, I've noticed, has a lot of gay themes injected into his films. And I'm spending Pride Month watching as many of his films to identify those gay themes. And I have been pretty successful, to be perfectly honest, like in one way or another. If it's not gay themes directly, it's similarities between his films. So, like, Jack Shoulder has a style, and it's a really good one. Plus, he just has, like, very specific things. So, like, I mentioned Twin Peaks, right? This film comes out in 1995, so Twin Peaks has been kind of settled in, I believe, right? Both season 1 and 2 are done. I don't really know the release dates of everything, but I know 1992 is when season 2 was really, like, in it. So, like, the first film didn't have time to react or anything. This film has been stewing in it. And Jack Sholder is at the helm, which has notably been a thing of significance when it comes to injecting ideas into a film where it's not intended. So, like, I loosely said that he injects gay themes into his films, but I don't know if I've spoken about the fact that Nightmare on Elm Street 2... actually, I think that was one of my more recent episodes, right? That might have been the most... It might be the one that just came out before this. As I said, I kind of throw a few out at a time, so I don't really know... I don't remember what order they come out or what's out at the time, but anyway... Yeah, so he's not only... It's not only me theorizing that gay themes are in. He's openly admitted in an interview in 2020, which I did seek out and find. I can't remember who posted about it. It was a Chronicle. I don't remember who, but if you look up Jack Sholder, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, gay themes, or something along those lines, you will come across it. It's a very long interview, and I didn't read all of it, because I was really just kind of like mid-writing my review for Nightmare on Elm Street or something. And I just really wanted to confirm, because I've only knew about the gay themes through hearsay, and that could just be the community putting those in themselves and just kind of like dragging it out. But I've found a direct quote from the man saying that it was intentional to make Nightmare on Elm Street 2 gay. I take that, again, I should probably have just read the entire article, but I just assume that means that he was, if not closely associated with the gay community, closeted gay himself, presumably. Like, that's me speculating, because just considering I'm able to find similar themes from what makes Nightmare on Elm Street 2 gay into other films. I'm talking about this a lot like it fully matters. This film is one of the few that I've encountered that doesn't have a huge gay influence on it. But what it does have is a Jack Sholder touch. And what are those things? Well, for one, something I noticed from 1201, another one of his sci-fi films I might end up talking about, he has a very good way of shifting into cruelty. Something that happens in this film, because as I've mentioned earlier, the first and second film are very, very different. Like, they aren't just different cast other than Jeff Fahey. Like, Jeff Fahey stays. He's still the sketch artist. But, like, because Drew Barrymore isn't here, they have Courtney Cox. But it's a very different film. It's still focused and centered around the sketch artist, Jeff Fahey, but the things happening are very, very different. So, like, there's the shift in cruelty. I have a small inkling of a thought that he might have a thing for men's feet. I don't want to assert that too much, but I have noticed multiple films in a row where scenes start and linger on men's bare feet and stay the center of frame for an entire scene while he's, just existing. And that's it probably is nothing, but it's just something that I picked up on. So that those are two things. He could do sudden shifts in cruelty, which this film does. It has men's feet, which it does. And what was that third thing? I think I put a third thing in that. Self-conscious shy men who can't talk to women. Yeah, that is a huge part of shoulder films. And I think a lot of that's probably due to the writing, kind of protagonist stuff, just not being confident in yourself. But it's very, like, I mean, even thinking to Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or 1201 or even this, he doesn't talk to women very well. For different reasons. Like in this one, his wife was a murderer, and he's like, I don't know if I can just date somebody right now. I don't know if I'm interested. And he gets nervous and self-conscious and doubtful because the whole first film is him in his head freaking the fuck out, not knowing what to think. So, I mean, that's another great part about this film is Fahey brings his experience from the first film into this, and it's not just like a random sequel that feels completely disconnected. Like, it's a completely different film, but the characters who exist in the film from the previous film are aware and acknowledge the events of the first one and even learn from them, or, you know, react to them in some way consistently throughout the film. I'm trying to transition well into the cruelty part without completely getting back into the Jack Shoulder thing or going too deep into Twin Peaks. But those are the next parallels that are kind of going to be moving along with this. So, like, I guess this is just a hard shift into the next thing. Like Jeff Fahey kills it. You don't have Wally Pfizer in this film, so visually it's completely different. Before I even go any further, though, I just remembered this film has the exact same opening credit sequence as the first one. And I'm not talking about like similar music or similar font or similar editing. It's the same footage. It's the same exact first few minutes of the film. Yeah, it's the same exact first few minutes of the film. Even past the credits. But it's so similar. Like, it says Sketch Artist 2 Hands at Sea. I saw that. I read the words. I'm reading Courtney Cox's name in this introduction. But I had to check that Tubi didn't just upload the first one twice. Like, is the second one just a glitch? Does it not actually exist? And I was really concerned. And then the film started, and it mirrors the same opening scene of a sex scene with a woman's, like, right breast being exposed as she's, like, stretched back, laying down. It's a very specific pose that I recognized from the first film, which I only watched a day or two prior. And except the main difference is in the first one, it was a soft erotic moment for this woman. In this film, the sequel, it is a rape scene. You're watching an explicit rape scene that just looks like the first love scene from the opening of the first film. It's really weird, and it's really impactful because, I mean, I think I knew there was something about rape but when I put it on, my mind was blank. I'm like, what the hell is this movie going to be? But the film is about a rapist. It's a serial rapist and murderer. And this is where Twin Peaks comes in, because, at least my assumption that Twin Peaks comes in, because outside of that opening scene, which is only partially erotic because it's shot erotically, not because the scene is erotic, it is a very intense rape scene that's very uncomfortable, and very in your face. Like, this is TV realized that actual violence is harder to show, and rape trauma and sexual trauma is easier to show and arguably more effective. And it is. It's a really effective moment. Then it transitions into... Does it transition? I'm supposed to be talking about something else. See, this is why I shouldn't have hard shifted into the introduction. Oh, actually, we're back in the middle, right? We're back where I started because I was about to talk about Twin Peaks and the Twin Peaks influence on this film. Now that I got past the opening, all the nudity that the first film supplies in sexual scenes and like erotic form and such is all replaced with dead bodies and rape victims and just it's a hard shift. So like this film it's almost tricking you. Like I'm not mad at the recycling of this footage for the opening credits because it almost disarms you as someone who was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna see more Jeff Fahey do some sketch artist shit and he's gonna do good acting. Serial rapist, and not just a serial rapist murderer who skins the face off of the women he rapes and murders. I don't know if he keeps the faces or not, but he skins the faces off of these women. There's naked bodies with no faces on them. It's raining, by the way. That's what that noise is. So this happens, right? This is an ongoing problem that the sketch artist is just living in the town of. And then the opening scene, I'm pretty sure, is the rape of Courtney Cox, which is blind. She is playing a blind rape victim in 1995. Admittedly, not very tastefully, at least in my opinion. I don't think it's... I've seen some people admire her on Letterboxd for enjoying her performance as a blind person, but as an able seeing person, because that is a thing. I am also going on hearsay with this. It doesn't matter what I think. It may not be offensive whatsoever, but just from like me watching and being around small blind people for a small portion of time, this is a very unrealistic and pathetic depiction of a blind person. Because, I mean, she's strong-spoken, and spoiler alert, in the end, it does kind of end on like a positive note. It is Jack Shoulder still, though, so it's still cruel and fucked and mean and yeah, she's raped and she's blind, and for some reason the killer is like, oh, you're blind. That means you can't describe me to the police. I'm gonna leave you alive so that you can live with this trauma. And then he like says some Bible verses to her. And then off to the races. The sketch artist is reintroduced. Courtney Cox is brought in to describe the victim to, or the perpetrator to him, and he's like, "You're fucking blind. How are you going to describe a killer to me?" And she says, "Well, I touched his face." So, hold on. Before I get into the stuff that is impressive about being blind in this film, let's finish talking about the offensive things that she does. She is so incapable as a blind person, which I suppose people can be, right? But this woman says that she's been blind since she was 11, and she's at least in her mid-20s. So that's more than half your life has been dedicated to trying to figure out how to exist without sight. And you're telling me that this bitch has no concept of how to use a cane. She has no concept of her layout of her own home. And she doesn't understand the concept of traversing space without someone guiding her. There's no way. There's no way this woman can exist. And I'm pretty sure she lives alone. Or she has like one roommate with her. Like she's not with her parents 24/7. She is an adult woman who exists. But somehow she's also someone who has to blindly reach her arms extended out, hoping she doesn't run into stuff. Even her like struggling through her fruit bowl bothered me, because it's just you come up with a system, all right? lecturing and more or less describing. Like, if you are to learn to exist, you have to build a system, and people with disabilities can build systems. They just aren't the put your arms out in front of you and hope you don't walk into things kind of system. It's an understanding how to use your other senses and logic. It's not, you're not tripping over shit because you know, someone's in the room with you and it's messing up your echolocation, I guess. She doesn't use that. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of an offensive performance, but it's 1995, and there are some good things about her being blind. Not her performance, but the existence of a blind person in this film is very good, in my opinion. She might not be portraying it very well, but I think it reflects very well on the way people treat the blind. Everything from disregarding knowledge of theirs, pushing them away, barely acknowledging their existence. And she's also a woman too in the 90s, so like there's also that going on. That's also a thing that exists. So there is a weird line where you can't really tell if it's because she's a woman or because she's disabled, or if they're asking you to disregard one of those two things and be like, oh yeah, it's only because she's a woman, her disability has nothing to do with it, or it's only because she has a disability, it has nothing to do with a woman. Like, either way, she's treated not well, and I think that's a very accurate portrayal of especially in the 90s, the way people thought of blind people. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure if I was, 3? I think 3 is the oldest I could be in the 90s. And I saw someone in a wheelchair. I feel like I would be like, I would want to go over and apologize to because I was raised, in a world that thought that disabilities were shameful and almost like made you incomplete if you wanted to look at it in like a Stephen King kind of way. Anyway, I'm not going to linger on that too much. But so she's describing the person to him, and he's like, wait, how do you know these things? She's like, well, I touched his face for about 30 seconds, and I identified many details of his face. And then he gets to the big question. He says, what about the hair color? There's no way you can tell me that, right? And she confident goes, brownish. Jeff Fahey's like, there's no way. You're bullshitting me. That's a complete lie. How do you know that? That's without guessing. And I discussed this with a coworker, and he doesn't actually believe it, but I actually do. I do believe in this logic. And I want to ask a blind person genuinely if it's actually a thing. But to be a blind person who doesn't know how to navigate her own home, probably a little less believable, but I digress. So what was I talking about? Oh, hair color. So she says dark brown or brownish or whatever, and he's like, there's no way you know that. And she says, of course there is. I touched his hair. And she was able to identify the color of his hair through exclusively touch and texture. And I didn't believe it at first, but then I remembered that I pull my beard hair out on a regular basis, and I look at my hair very detailed, and my hair is not round. Like, my hair is flat. And obviously it's thinner and more, not my facial hair. My facial hair is different. But still, I understand that hair has different shapes, textures, thicknesses, concentrations that are associated with specific colors. So I 100% believe that if a blind person is honed in on their understanding of what they're looking for, they could absolutely identify someone's hair color through touch. And I need to ask somebody. But I know more deaf people than I do blind, and I don't know. I don't know any blind people. So all of this to say, the first third of the film is this. It's maybe half. There's serial rapings going on. There's a bunch of dead women that are naked, very Twin Peaksy. One is literally, if they found Laura Palmer without the plastic bag. Like, it's just like a naked girl on the beach. The film is very, one of my friends calls it SVU, like Special Victims Unit, but that comes out later after this. So that's why I connected it more to Twin Peaks than SVU, because that is definitely the more direct connection. Oh, shit. So, yeah, only the first half of the film is like that, and it's fucked. Don't get me wrong, like, it's really fucked. But then, the second half of the film is a courtroom drama. 'Cause, spoiler alert, although she's blind, she nailed the description. They arrested the right dude. They got him on trial, ready to go. And they're like, how do they... And then the defense comes out and says, how do we know that this blind woman identified the right man? And it starts an entire case where it's basically just proving that blind people are competent at describing people. And that they spent weeks of this trial, or days, I don't know how long, just going around in circles of trying to convince people that blind people aren't capable of identifying people. They go through rigorous testing, multiple, including putting her in the same room inches away from her face. The man who raped her, by the way, violently. Yeah, it's a... So that's really where the hard shift in these two films comes from. The first one is more psychological, with like this man just refusing to see the truth while it's all right in front of him, and we're with him hoping the truth is, true or not true. But yeah, it's very psychological. And then this film is a courtroom drama about disability, where, as mentioned, the only nudity in the film is acts of violence towards women, dead women's bodies and corpses on slabs, and there's that one rape scene that's probably the only living nipple you get to see. So it's using the same TV restrictions, but shifting it in a way harder direction. Once they realize like the things they can push, and there's also just some, like, as I mentioned, the cinematographer is different. They don't have Wally Pfizer, but I do think there are some good shots in this film. I don't recognize really much of anything that the cinematographer has contributed to in this film. Let me see. Brian England. He did Sometimes They Come Back, the Stephen King movie, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Goes to Manhattan. Oh, he's the cinematographer on another Jack Shoulder film. That's cool. He might just be buddies. And he did Larry Shaw's episode of... No, that's not an episode, never mind. But still, some stuff. There were some decent shots, and I really don't want to keep talking about Twin Peaks, so I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to bring it up one last time, and that's this. Some of the shots in this film are very weird and dreamy and confusing. And there's one very specific shot of just a random dog barking at the camera. And I'm like, there's no way this isn't Twin Peaks. Like, there's no way. So, that's my last note on that part. The final scene is really great. Honestly, the whole court stuff is really good. The defense lawyer is really a big cunt. Like, he sucks so much. He asks the worst questions possible, and he's really good at being a lawyer. And it's just a really enticing case that, it was just really well made for movies. It was a well made courtroom drama, and it was very, very cool. And then they do the final test, because they ran this blind woman, through all these tests to prove that this is the right guy, and no one wants to believe her. So they have her in person do a sketch artist rendering with Jeff Fahey, and prove that her descriptions can be accurate and well portrayed. It's kind of like a yeah, duh kind of moment for people in 2026, but it's still it's a good moment in a good movie. It's just a really, for 95 minutes, it does feel like it gets there a little slowly, but it's fine. There's a really good scene of Jack Fahey where he's getting belligerently drunk. That's the one that I pointed out has a men's feet dead center in the frame for most of it. Where he starts on his feet just on a table and it zooms out slowly. But he's drunk in that scene and his hair is all messed up, and this guy is like, we can set up a murder. You can just get this guy killed. Like, because the whole problem is that everyone's confident that this man raped and murdered many women. And, most of the people agree that he's the one that did it, but they don't have enough evidence, and the only evidence they have is a blind woman. And it's just, the whole court case is convincing them that the blind woman is right. So that's where a lot of the emotion comes in, is that, that this guy is evil, and, you see his face in the first 30 seconds of the film. Like, they don't hide it from you. The film isn't who is it, it's how do we get him? And it was really good. I liked it a lot. Jack Shoulder has yet to fully disappoint. And Sketch Artist is a great series of films. I really liked it. I want to eat my chicken fingers and Pringles before my partner gets out of work, though. So anythingbutted@gmail.com if you want to reach out to me, and I can help you find these films. They're mostly on Tubi, but I don't know. I like these films quite a bit, and I hope I could find a physical copy of them, because I want to immortalize them in a collection for as long as the discs will last. So, anythingbutted@gmail.com to reach out and tell me about it, ask me about it. You have been listening to Taste Like Tea, a podcast about me, Nehemiah, INT,